Hey guys, this is Austin. Recently, Ken went out and found a surprisingly good $700 gaming PC that was pre-built from a big box store. So that got me thinking, what happens when you want to spend $400? I built a lot of custom gaming PCs, and the math is really simple. You're almost always getting better price to performance when you build it yourself versus buying a pre-built. However, things have been changing lately, and this $330 Lenovo is a great example of that. One of the nice things about a pre-built system is that you at least do get some accessories. So this looks like a keyboard, and while I'm sure it's not going to be particularly high quality, it's better than nothing. And especially if you don't have any accessories right now, something like this will get you off the ground. And now we have the computer itself. So something that's a little bit interesting about this guy is that it's considerably smaller than most desktops. And because of that, as you'll see a little bit later, it does limit some of our upgrade options. So it might not look like much, but this guy has some potential. So it's powered by a Core i3-7100 paired with 4 GB of RAM and a 1 TB hard drive. Now that might not sound too impressive yet, but with one major upgrade, I think it can actually handle some pretty decent gaming. This is the NVIDIA GT 1030. Typically, lower end graphics cards just don't make a lot of sense, but the 1030 is surprisingly good, and with a $70 price tag, it puts the entire price of this build at $400, which I think actually might just be able to challenge Ken's $700 system. Well, at least when you consider price to performance. So open this guy up, and one of the main issues is that it only supports a low profile graphics card, which just so happens to fit perfectly with our GT 1030. So I think the only thing we're gonna have to do here is just move the Wi-Fi antenna out of the way, but besides that, it pretty much should be good to go. And with that, we have the graphics card installed. So as I'm looking inside here, there actually is some upgradability. So on top of the graphics card, you can't easily put another 4 gigs of RAM in here. And while it does have a 1 TB hard drive to start with, on the bottom, there actually is a slot for an M.2 SSD. So if you want to spend another, say, $30, $40 on RAM and maybe another $80 on an SSD, for less than $500, you're getting a pretty decent system. So if we would have actually got the correct GT 1030, which is about a ½ inch smaller, it would fit no problem. However, with this one, not so much. So normally I would try to cut out a little bit of the metal just so it would be able to clear, but the problem is because the system is so small, the hard drive is literally right here up against the lip. So if I did that, basically I would have to pull out the hard drive. This one's like literally a ½ inch too big. So so can we just do the rest of the video with the computer case open? Like can this just be the rest of the video? Because it's not gonna close any more than that. A few Windows updates later and the system is alive. So while yes, it might not look ideal right now, we actually do have some decent specs inside. That Core i3 is clocked at a pretty impressive 3.9 GHz, and while the GT 1030 might not be the most powerful graphics card around, it should definitely be able to handle some pretty decent gaming. So our first game is going to be CSGO. Now it should be no surprise that this system is easily able to handle it. Even on high settings at 1080p, we're getting anywhere between 110 and 140 frames per second. Now sure, it might not be the most competitive thing in the world where some systems can run at 300 or 400 frames, but I would say this qualifies as playable. You know, if I could actually find someone. Oh, I could just plant the bomb. That's also an option. Next, we have Rocket League. Now this is another game that isn't particularly demanding, but it actually looks pretty good running here on the $400 system. So at 1080p on high settings, we're getting anywhere between 50 to 60 frames per second. Next, we have Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor, as I almost get killed. So this is a slightly older game. However, even on low settings, I think it looks pretty decent at 1080p, and we're getting a pretty solid 55 to 60 frames per second. So if we would have, gotten the correct sized graphics card for our case, then I think this actually would be looking pretty good. And what's kind of impressive is what kind of price to performance you're actually getting out of this guy. If you're going to build this system today, it would cost you around $450, and that's not including stuff like the optical drive or Wi-Fi card. Now mind you, if I was going to build this system for $400, I'd probably make a couple of adjustments like drop the Core i3 for a Pentium and maybe consider a slightly faster graphics card, but considering that we're $400 in and didn't have to build anything besides not being able to close the case, it's not bad. If you guys want to see how Ken was able to get an even better deal on a pre-built system, definitely be sure to go check this video out here. But what do you guys think about our Franken monster for $400? Let me know in the comments below and I will catch you on the next one.